It all began on a quiet Wednesday evening, the kind that carries the scent of something waiting to happen. The streets were nearly empty, the air crisp, and the sky slowly bleeding into dusk. I was setting the table for a lonely dinner when the knock came, a soft, hesitant rhythm that echoed strangely in my quiet house. I wasn't expecting anyone. My husband was away on business for the week, and my teenage daughter was at her friend's place for a school project. For once, the house felt too still. Too hollow. I wiped my hands on the kitchen towel, heart thudding faintly, and walked to the front door. Peeking through the peephole, I saw a man standing on my porch. He was tall, perhaps in his late 30s, wearing a deep navy blue sweater and holding a steaming casserole dish wrapped in a towel. When I opened the door, his face stretched into a polite smile. "Hi, I'm Arman," he said. "I'm Lena's brother. Your neighbor from next door." I blinked in surprise. Lena had mentioned a brother once in passing, but I'd never seen him before. "Oh. Hello. Yes, of course. Lena's spoken about you." He held up the dish. "She asked me to drop this off. She made too much dinner, and thought you might like some." That was odd. Lena had never sent over dinner before. In fact, we barely exchanged more than pleasantries. Still, I found myself stepping aside. "That's very kind. Please come in." As Arman stepped into my home, I couldn't shake the chill that crawled up my spine. Something about his eyes. They were warm, yes, but distant, as if they were hiding something they didn't want to reveal. We sat at the table. He insisted I try the food with him. It was lamb biryani, aromatic and perfectly spiced. As I took my first bite, I caught him watching me closely, as though waiting for a reaction beyond just taste. "This is delicious," I said, trying to ease the awkwardness. "So, what brings you here, besides dinner delivery?" He chuckled softly. "I've just moved back from abroad. London, actually. Needed a break. Lena offered me her guest room for a few weeks." I nodded. "How nice. Must be a big change." He shrugged. "It is. But sometimes life pushes you back to the places you tried to leave." That line struck me. There was sadness behind it, like a door slightly ajar, showing a room filled with memories best left untouched. Before I could ask more, he changed the subject. "Lena said you lost your mother last year?" My throat tightened. "Yes. Last spring." "I'm sorry. Last spring." "I'm sorry. I know how that feels. We lost our father just a few months ago." My heart softened. "I'm sorry to hear that." Lena didn't mention. She doesn't talk about him much. Or the past, really. I glanced at him, now more curious than cautious. "And what about you?" He paused. I used to think silence was protection. But sometimes it's just a prison. There was something deeply unsettling about the way he said it. He spoke like someone with a story itching to be told, yet terrified of the consequences. We finished dinner, and just as I was about to thank him and suggest he head back, he asked if I could sit with him for just a few more minutes. "There's something I'd like to share. With someone neutral. Someone not part of it." That should have been my cue to politely decline. But something in me leaned forward. Maybe it was loneliness. Maybe curiosity. Or maybe the unmistakable scent of a secret. I made tea, and we settled in the living room. The lights dimmed, and the room began to feel like a confessional box. That's when he began. "Do you believe people can carry two truths?" he asked. I nodded slowly. "I think so." He took a breath. "Then let me share both of mine." What he told me next unraveled like a novel, one filled with guilt, loss, betrayal, and a decision that had followed him like a shadow. "When we were younger," he said, "our father was strict, a perfectionist. But he was also different behind closed doors." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "He had affairs. With women who worked for him. And he had a way of manipulating us to keep it quiet. Lena found out first. She was only 16. I covered my mouth in shock. She begged me to help her tell our mother. But I didn't. I was scared. I told her to forget it. She never forgave me. Not truly." He paused and ran his hands through his hair. "And then there's what happened in London. I braced myself. I was married to a woman I loved deeply. We had a son. He's 7 now. But I made the same mistake my father did. I broke our trust. I had an affair, and I lost everything. Silence pressed between us like a third presence. I came back to start over. But starting over doesn't mean forgetting. It means living with the weight. I didn't know what to say. Here was a stranger, pouring his confessions into my living room, and I was both overwhelmed and oddly honored.